healthier, better, better.
Hey, Matt, I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
I'm really excited, too. I think you have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to podcasting, just health and wellness in general. You were nice enough to invite me on your podcast, and you said, hey, maybe we can do like a cross podcast guest, and I appreciate that. So I appreciate you making the time today to go here.
Absolutely, man. You guys got a great mission, great team. So just happy to have a conversation with everybody.
Sweet. Okay, so obviously I told you the tradition of our podcast is that we drink the guest's favorite beverage, and you like hazy lagers?
IPAs, yeah.
Okay, so we got Old Flame Hazy Blonde. Have you tried this before?
Never.
Okay, let's open it up.
Do it up. I know, it sounds like happiness, man.
Yeah, right there. Okay, cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tastes like summer. Love it,
like
man.
Summer, 100%. All right, so Matt, tell us a little bit about what you do in general.
Definitely. Like me personally or Revive as a whole?
You personally.
Me personally, yeah. I am a certified personal trainer, certified sleep stress management coach, and are in the middle of my nutrition certification now. So I would loosely term it as a holistic well-being specialist. Mm-hmm. So I like to provide guidance. I like to provide advice, give suggestions to people, whether they're struggling with any wellness journey. So I like to act as the guide for a lot of people struggling from digestive issues to sleep issues, anxiety, mental health, anything in between. Yeah. And just be that guide to get them from A to B. Give them that freedom over their life, that control back over their mind and body. And do it in a way that's fun, engaging, because health and wellness can be boring sometimes. It can be overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So I want to do it in a way that's cool, that's hip, that's fun, that's exciting. So that's a rough snapshot of Matt.
Okay. Did you always want to do that?
No, I wanted to be a marketing specialist for like Nike or Adidas, something like that back in the day.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So it was either that or holistic well-being, which I found it later on the way in my uni journey. So I was never into health and wellness like I am now.
No? Even when you're younger, just trying to like work out?
Yeah, just the gym. That was it. Play some hockey, drink some beers. Like it was a pretty stereotypical white guy who was in college.
Oh, white guy.
That's it. Yeah, man.
Okay, so tell me how your podcast started. What inspired you to do this?
Yeah, definitely. It kind of goes back to how I started Revive. Mm-hmm. It started as a clothing company, which I believe we spoke about before 5 years ago. And we were selling leggings, joggers, hoodies, the whole 9 yards. We were an apparel company at its heart. Mm-hmm. And over like 2 years or whatever, I was like, my hair's going gray. This is stressful as hell. It's not fun. And it's not really packing the mission that I want. Because I would sell the clothes to people, but they're going into the gym. They can't stay consistent. They're still lacking confidence. Their health is still a mess. And I'm going, well, I'm clearly not providing an impact-driven business solution to somebody in the world, right? So I was there like maybe 2 years after I started the business going, what's the next step for me? I can't keep doing this business the way it is. And I'm looking for that next thing. And this was during COVID. Everybody was just kind of, self-discovering themselves again. And I was in the garage with one of my friends. And she goes, I just listened to this podcast with Lewis Howes and Sean Stevenson. I've never listened to a podcast in my life up until this point. Okay. She goes, I want you to listen to this and just listen and keep an open mind. So I'm like, all right. I never listened to a podcast. Let's see what this is about. It was about the gut microbiome. First podcast ever. And sitting there, it was an 1.5 hour episode. I've never been so hooked and engaged in my life. I was like, this is really cool stuff. Yeah. I'm only someone who knows how to go to the gym. That was it. That's all I thought health and wellness was. Yeah. So then I got really hooked on that show by Lewis Howes. And I listened to probably like 30, 40 episodes really fast. Then I started digging down the rabbit hole a bit, reading my own books, listening to other podcasts, doing my own certifications, my own research. And I was like, health and wellness goes so much deeper than what I've been saying and what everybody else is talking about. Right? It's gym, calories, and then we usually forget about that. Yeah. Right? So I said, I want to do something exactly like this and act as like the hub for something wellness-based and then dive into all these other practices and tools that I wish I had at the beginning of my journey. Right? Because where I am now to where I was at the beginning, if I knew all the knowledge I did now, from gut health to mental health to sleep to self-talk, I would have been so much further along in my journey, not as frustrated, not as stuck. And that's why I want the Revive Effect podcast to be that North Star to get people from A to B.
Where'd you start that name, Revive? Like, how did that come about?
I originally going to call the company Kinetic. Okay. For 2 years or whatever, I was like thinking about the idea and like it didn't sound right, but I didn't know how to pick it. So believe it or not, I put in a name generator with AI, and it came out
freaking AI.
Freaking AI.
Everybody uses AI. Okay.
Yeah. So then it came out RVIVE without the E, and I was like, that's perfect. The trademark's free. I go, I like it. Let's run with it. Super hip, super millennial, and Revive.
Super millennial. So how do you, in the beginning when you started filming your podcast, like how did you come up with like the episodes that you want to film?
I originally just started speaking about what I wish I knew.
So was it more towards you to the camera, or did you automatically like when we started the podcast? Like I love getting to know people and understanding how they tick. So it's like I wanted to talk to people. For you, did you just want to talk to the camera, give as much information as possible, or did you automatically know you're like I want to talk to other like professionals?
A little bit of both. I just think at the beginning of my journey, I didn't know anyone, especially in the wellness space. So it was just me teaching what I knew. Like if I go back to my first episode, it's not really that great. It's never really that great.
None of our,
You're like, oh, that's so cringe, man. Like, why? But yeah, over the years, I did networking events. I started just slowly introducing myself to more people. And that's when I really started seeing a lot more guests come on the show and really expand the topic base. So I usually tailor the episode title to whoever is coming in, whether it's a psychotherapist, gut specialist. We're about to have an Olympian come on the show now.
So cool.
Yeah, so we're really diversifying the topic. So just slowly over the years, I started introducing myself to more people.
I like that. So did you have trouble finding guests and reaching out? When we always reach out to guests, sometimes it's like, we're just going to shoot our shot here. We're going to see if they come in. Did you have those kind of troubles when you started like really reaching out to other people? Like little, R-bombs, people just reading you and not responding?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I still get that. Still to this day. Again, we have a pretty comprehensive show, a nice guest list, but there's times when I'll reach out to someone and then I'll get their assistant responding back to me being like, this show is not a good use of our time. Don't reach out back. And I'm like, well, a simple no would have been okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, that's fine.
Yeah, you don't have to be so harsh.
Don't have to be so harsh. But yeah, like lots of R-bombs. Nobody answers sometimes, some harsh replies. But, for every good guest that we get on the show, it makes up for all that BS that we have to go through to get it.
No,
you know exactly what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, it can be a little bit rough because you're like, sometimes though when you reach out to a person, like, I don't know, and they get back to you like fairly quick, you're like, okay, let's get it go. And like, I appreciate that. Okay, so
hold on, can I ask you back?
Of course.
So like when you reach out, have you ever gotten some harsh no's? Any stick out for you?
I don't think so.
Well, your show's just nice like that.
No. Yeah, so I usually what we do is obviously I try to reach out to the person, and then once that started kind of rolling, I would ask the person after I interviewed them, like, hey, if you know anybody who wants to come onto the podcast, let us know. And then I'd bounce off of that networking. And then when that person comes on, hey, do you know anybody who would like to be on the show? And then I'd bounce off of that person. So I would try to basically I try to shoot my shot with one, like, quote unquote, big guest. I try to wow them, try to really show that, this is worth your time. And then that way, when they come on, I'm like, hey, like, do you know anybody who would be interesting topics and stuff like that?
I like that.
I've tried to get the hardest that I've been trying to get that I've had so many people reach out to me for is Amr. Do you know Amr the Hammer?
No.
So he's a very famous like Toronto coach for physique, competitive and stuff like that. And I've had Alexi Ward on, and she works with him, and he's a busy man. He's a very busy man. I really hope one day that I can get him on because I really would like to pick his brain. But that's the only. He reached out to me. We chatted a little bit, but he's so. I don't know if you've had this, but some people's like, I'm down. Let's do it. But reach out to me in 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay, like I'll put it in my calendar. You know what I mean? So he's probably he's one I really, really want. Every year, our crew tries to pick out like basically like 10 like of our like ideal list, right? So this year, we really wanted to get like I really want a comedian on. I really want an actor of some sort. And then we had even like the mayor of Aurora, we had politicians. So like, we've when we had the mayor of Aurora, that's when we had the most heat.
No, of course, very controversial, political out here, man.
Yeah. The thing is, I love politics though, but like you have to, I don't want to say you have to, not, you have to be careful how you word things.
For sure.
Right? Because it's like, obviously you don't want to, I would never want to put our guests in a position where they look crappy. Never, ever, ever. Same time though, like let's have some difficult conversations.
Sure.
So I had some people who had a script that they have to like stick by, but that's okay. I think that's the game though, right? Like that some people need to stick to certain answers, certain things. So
wow.
But it's okay though. It is what it is.
Well, if you're looking for a comedian, I actually know a comedian.
Oh, really?
So after the show, like I'm putting this on the like I'll connect you guys.
Perfect. See, this is what I love. Guys.
See,
people helping people. It's a beautiful thing.
But you know what? Honestly, Norman, before we keep it going, I I want to say about that 6-month wait period, or like, you want to have somebody on the show really bad. It just doesn't seem to come to life. That's happened to me a bunch of times. And I'm going to give you an example with one of the stories. When I had Zach on the podcast, it was 2 years after I met him. That's
no way.
It was 2 years after.
Good for you for like keeping with it.
Well, we totally let it slip, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
But like we still stayed in touch or whatever. And when I met him, I go, dude, I love what you got going on. I have a podcast. Let's shoot the shit. Can we swear? Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Okay. All right. I go, let's shoot the shit. And he goes, great. Let's do it up. And then 2 years went by. I guess schedules never aligned or whatever. But then just recently, like a couple months ago, he came on the show. And for me, that alignment was very beautiful in the sense that if we did the podcast at the time that I met Zach, it wouldn't have had the power and the full effect because I transformed over those 2 years. He transformed over those 2 years. And we just came together and the episode it's my best performing episode.
Actually, it has a ton of views. Ton of views on YouTube. Super happy for you. I think it's like over 3.
It's almost 4 now.
4 now, yeah.
The streams are even more phenomenal, but it was...
there's a lot of analytics you have to look over.
A lot of analytics, but I think just the way the universe aligns stuff for you, I always just assume it's always in the best timing possible.
I like the way you named that too, because it was a meat eater versus a non-meat eater, right?
Yep.
Did your questions for that podcast change?
Over if we did it at the beginning, I would have asked very different questions versus now, because I told Zach before we get on the show, I always do 15 minutes with my guests. I go, I don't want to polarize our audience and confuse them even more. Nobody knows, should I be plant-based or should I be carnivore or whatever? Like, no one knows what to eat. I go, let's look for areas of overlap in our diet so people know how to walk away from the episode saying, I actually feel in power. I know what I can do. And that way we didn't like back and forth. You're wrong. I'm right. It was never like that.
No, you did it in very it was a respectful conversation on both sides.
Tough on both sides, right? Because
it has to be though.
It has to be. Again, we
very honest conversation.
Honest, man.
Was very, very honest. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, man.
Do you have anybody right now? Obviously, don't tell me. But do you have anybody right now you're working on that's like been taking some time?
Probably the Olympian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute, but it's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Fill your schedule in the meantime. Whenever it comes, it comes. That's my motto right now.
That's so true. And it just gives you more time to perfect your craft.
That's it.
Right?
That's it.
For conversations and stuff like that. So what has been the most challenging aspect of starting and running a podcast?
Probably getting in front of the camera. Definitely getting in front of the camera. A lot of people, like I've struggled with this too, is imposter syndrome. I'll give you a quick example. I went to a networking event one time. There's probably 200 people there. And the host of the networking event says, everybody close your eyes and raise your hand if you struggle with imposter syndrome. So that way nobody will know who's like raising their hand. Obviously I peeked. I'm going to peek.
Yeah.
So I look and there's probably 95% of the room has their hands up. Some people are CEOs, some people are founders, some people are specialists in whatever field, yet they're still raising their hand. So I think for me, even though, I paint myself as like this advocate, this guide, this confident, entrepreneur, there's some areas where I'm like, you know what, I don't feel comfortable or at least confident talking about this topic. So it's a lot of self-talk for me. It was at least, to get on the show, to get in front of the camera, even come on here. Like, who am I to say anything? So it's really just iterating and having that self-talk to be like, no, man, you know exactly what you're talking about. You know your knowledge. You can say it in a way that is confident, articulate, and still gentle. You don't trigger anyone. So I think that was probably the biggest obstacle I overcame, especially in the beginning, because my first episode, I did it 3 times before I released it.
Oh, really?
And it's an hour episode. So I had to film it 3 times before I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Just put it out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to your imposter syndrome. I feel like that word is like thrown around a lot right now. What do you think is what is that definition of imposter syndrome for you?
I think it's, number one, I think it's a make-believe belief system. Right? We always talk ourselves out of why we can't do something. So I think it's that false perception that you are not worthy of whatever you're speaking about, whatever you desire, whatever role you wish to show up as. So a lot of it with a belief system, if you're not navigating that self-talk properly, if you're not overcoming those limiting beliefs, you're going to continue to show up in a way that feels false, that doesn't feel like the true you. So as you change your belief systems, as you become more rooted and grounded in yourself, that imposter syndrome, will it trickle in a little bit? Yes, but you're able to push it away a little more and then step into your full authentic self because you now know like who you are, what you define, your values, all that. So I think it's a false perception that you just need to overcome. That's all it is.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've overcame that? Do you feel pretty like solid with like how you feel, how you are when it comes to these podcasts or just being on camera in general?
Yeah. I would say I'm definitely much more than before. Again, I'm a human. We all need to continue to evolve and grow. So I think there is some aspects where I go, I wish I was a little more confident in that setting. Or if I'm pitching my business, I wish I said it with a little more oomph.
Yeah.
But it's just use that data to show up better the next time. And that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair when it comes to that. Do you ever like rewatch your episodes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I re-listen to them, rewatch them, everything. And then I say, oh, I wish I got to stop saying right. Like I say right after every freaking time.
Yeah.
So I know next time to show up, don't say that. Or, if you're going to sit up straight, sit up straight. Just small things like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, my posture's so bad.
Yeah, it's bad or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I try not to rewatch them personally.
Really?
I'm very my biggest weakness for sure is I'm super critical of myself. So like if I mess up in something, I would say or if I take too much of a long break, I definitely take like a mental note and like I beat myself up over it for sure. But obviously I've been watching it a little bit more and more and more because at the end of the day, like I want to be a better interviewer. I want to make sure my conversational skills are better. But I do a lot of reading in the sense of like books to help with conversations. I don't know if you've done any of that.
Couple. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything you suggest? Like any books or anything?
I like Reclaiming Conversation, Sherry Turkle. It's a little bit of a dry read. Good stuff, though. Or honestly, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Such a
That's
mainstream
on my
book.
list. That's
Dude,
on my list.
That leaps and bounds above where I was after I read that book.
Yeah. Why is that?
It showed you how to be a good conversationalist, start to finish, how to ask questions, how to listen. I'll give you one technique, a swiveling spotlight technique. Is as an interviewer, we always, or even people in general, a lot of the times we think like people won't be interested unless we're taking an interest in them. We're always asking questions, asking follow-ups, but a lot of the time people won't ask back. I know you're probably familiar with that. Like you said that sometimes, right? Like with the episode.
100%.
So when you're in a conversation, actively listen, actively ask questions. But when there's a space, give your own perspective. Swivel the spotlight back to you. You can put it on them and then put it on yourself. So you're in control of the conversation, but in a way that's like dynamic, if that makes sense.
No, that does make sense.
So I love that for podcasting too. It's fantastic.
Yeah, like I don't know if you ever what podcast. So obviously you didn't listen to any podcasts before. Do you listen to podcasts now?
Bunch.
What do you listen to?
I still listen to School of Greatness, Lewis House. That's like my go-to. Model House Show with Sean Stevenson, like Andrew Huberman, Jay Shetty's On Purpose.
Andrew Huberman's good, but I gotta be
He's
in for the long run.
Yeah, he's
Sometimes
I
sometimes if I'm driving, he gets into like really into meat in the subject. I'm like, oh, I gotta really like wake myself up. But
Sure. phenomenal
podcast for sure. Okay.
Yeah, he's number one, like everywhere. I like Mel Robbins, and honestly, Get Off a Mindset. That is that's one you guys got to watch, man.
All right.
That's it. Here's to that.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So, have you faced any unexpected obstacles or setbacks in your journey when it comes to the podcast?
Setbacks. You know what? I think it was even at the beginning, probably about 20 to 35, 40 episodes in. It's staying confident when you're getting no streams or just little streams.
That's a big one.
Yeah, like you put like 3 hours, 4 hours of work into a podcast, and then like back then I was getting like 10 listens an episode.
Yeah, your boys and your friends.
That's it. Yeah, 5 of them are probably me.
Yeah. You're just going on replay.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
So I think it was a lot of staying consistent even when the results weren't coming in. That but then me and my boy, we always have the saying, like, those who persevere through the drought will find the fruit at the end. So I stuck through it. My show now has bigger guests, better streams, and it was from that time of drought. And that could be applicable to so many areas of life. Like even, let's say the gym, for example. How long does it take for your clients to see results? Months sometimes. You persevere through the drought when you don't see the result, and then you come out on top. And it builds such this strong aspect of mental resilience to show
100%.
up consistent. You show up for yourself. And when you do that, when you get to that endpoint, that's like you've developed all the skills you need to step into that final version of you.
Yeah. I mean, you put it pretty beautifully there.
Thank you, man.
100% agree with that. So next thing I want to ask you is how do you engage? Because you have really, really good engagement with your audience. So I want to ask, how do you engage with your audience and gather feedback to better your episodes?
I straight up talk to people.
Yeah,
Conversation.
So give me an example.
So it's applicable for more than one area of my business. For podcasting, yes. For the free guides that I give away, for the courses that we do. Like we just had, we signed a deal with this special needs clinic. We're currently doing an onboarding process with a bunch of their people into our Revive Academy. So that's where we have a bunch of programs. People go step by step through any wellness journey. So I said, the first 5 people that came on, I was like, can we hop on a call so I can see how that onboarding process was for you. Was it easy? What is missing? What do you like? And I want to hear your feedback, like person to person.
Mm-hmm.
I find with a lot of focus groups sometimes people are a little, they'll probably fidge their answers a bit to fit what's going on in the focus group.
Yes.
But if you're one-to-one with me, I'll be like, tell me straight up, was it a piece of shit or did you find value in it? You're not going to offend me. And that way it's a raw, real conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I can see, okay, well, what's missing these components? We should probably talk about this in the content. We should probably implement this in the academy. We should probably do an episode on this.
Mm-hmm.
So literally having people in front of me, talking to them and saying, what are you missing? What do you need? And the other thing I ask is usually not, what do you want? Because most people don't know what they want.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, what are you struggling with?
Mm-hmm.
What do you wish you could do better?
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I'll find the solution catered to that problem. Because everybody knows what they don't want. Everyone knows what they want less of. I wish this would never happen. I wish this person wouldn't do this to me. I just wish I could overcome this. Great. Now I know how to tailor my content to that problem, not what you want. Oh, I want to be healthy. I want to be fit. Great. I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
But like, oh, I'm struggling with digestion. It really sucks. Great. I know exactly what to do next.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that one-to-one convo.
That's okay. That's amazing. You're super humble when it comes to these situations. Have you always been like had like good humility and like really good like conversations with yourself when it comes to this?
Like, first of all, thank you. Second of all, just reiterate that a little bit.
Like in the sense of like, you seem like you have a lot of like humbleness and like, oh, I need to be like, let's be honest, like we'll go back a little bit to the imposter syndrome. There's a lot of people who like we're kind of living in a world where it's like, you either like have to change for the world or like, oh, I don't have to change, the world has to change for me. Right. And you seem like you're so like, you know what? I'm willing to get that rough feedback to make sure that like I amplify what I can do later on. And you also like the humility you have, I find you actually more like it makes you more confident. Like I appreciate how confident you are in your conversations, and I appreciate how you're willing to understand maybe I don't know enough. And I find obviously I can only speak on men, but I feel men sometimes have that ego where they're like, I'm fine, bro. I don't have to learn, or like I'll figure it out on my own. Which I respect so much, is like we talked about off podcast, but like you learn, you research, you try to like level up. Have you always been like that, or was there something that was a catalyst for you to be like that?
Oh, great question. Thank you again. I think it's when you open up, you have raw, real, vulnerable conversations. We said this on the episode that you were on, right? Like the other guy usually is in the same boat.
Yeah.
You resonate much deeper. It's a much safer space. And I don't like fake surface level stuff. I like to get nitty gritty. I like to get deep. I like to have real raw combos. So if we're able to do that in any way, shape, or form, why not bring that to the table, right? And like an ego thing for me, it's like if I talk to someone at a networking event or if I'm at a dinner, they're talking about the money they make or the business they have. It's like, buddy, like you don't struggle with nothing, really? Plus, it makes me much more relatable to my audience. Like, am I healthy all the time? No. Do I feel like shit most days? Yeah, entrepreneurship's hard. You know, do I struggle with consistency sometimes? Absolutely. It allows you to resonate with someone on a much deeper level, and then they'll open up, and then you'll open up, and then now you understand the root cause of everything. Now you understand the root cause of conversation. It just allows you to connect on a much deeper level. So that's why I like it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and yeah, just a little affirmation for you. I think that's pretty sweet of you, Matt, that you're able to do that. So when you were doing those focus groups and stuff like that, or when you're talking to your audience, what was like one of the nicest things that like you're like, oh, like that really like hit your heart? And then what was something that you're like, oof, okay, like that was rough, but I'm gonna take it like a man. Like, okay,
yeah, I love it. Let's start with the bad one first. And we'll
always bad first.
Start with the bad one. I go to a lot of networking events, right? If you don't evangelize your business, like who's gonna do it for you? So I always like to pitch, just even get the word out there. I was talking to this one guy. He was the actually host of the networking event. He goes, "What do you do?" So I gave him the pitch. I was so excited. I was like, "Yeah, that's what I do." He's like, "To be honest, bro, like it sounds like a shit idea." I was like,
rough.
All right. And then he goes, what's your MVP? Like, you haven't started building, have you? And for people who are in an entrepreneurial space, minimum viable product, like he's pretty much asking me, he's like, you haven't built this yet, right? And I was like, no, it's it's pretty established.
You're like clenching your
I'm like, no, it's a full business. Like, that's what I do. He's like, honestly, man, it doesn't really do it for me. I wish you the best, but you should probably just change your business model. I was like, well, that was a pretty tough pill to swallow. I was like, all right, man, like that's one opinion. And obviously, like right to my face, that one freaking hurt. I had to go I was like, can I get a drink, bartender?
Yeah, can you make it a double?
Make it a double, man. So that one hit hard, definitely, because then I go home and like it sticks with you, right? Like
for sure.
It doesn't matter what someone says. Even if you brush it off, you'll still be thinking about it later. Like,
yeah, you're brushing your teeth.
You're like, damn, yeah, you're fine, man. You don't even know me.
You don't even know.
You don't even know my story, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely stayed with me for a bit. But like the same way I reach out for podcasts, like all the ones that tell me like F off or I'm not going to answer, the ones that make up for it are much better. So let's transition into the better, more positive one. I had this one girl text me, and she was actually when I did free clients when we were testing some stuff out. Like 5 or 6 months after I was working with her, she sent me a text, full paragraph, out of the blue. And she goes, honestly, Matt, like if I never worked with you, my life would have been, I can't even imagine. She goes, I started going to therapy. She goes, I started having better relationships. I got a promotion at work. She goes, I'm sleeping better again. And she goes, that all stemmed from you as the catalyst with your program as you took me through it. So hearing that even just one person, I made a difference. I changed their lives, or I changed their life in a way that they maybe weren't even going to do. That for me overcomes like, hey bro, you got a shit idea any day of the week, because people really need that. And then when they give you feedback like that, how do you say no? Like I keep going, man.
Of course. Would you say that you're pretty critical of yourself?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
What are you critical about yourself about?
I think, let me think about that one. Most critical. I'll probably say my speaking.
Yeah. You speak very well.
Thank you.
You're very articulate.
Thank you.
And you're very direct with everything you say. You're like, I could definitely learn a lot about you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, but I definitely think like there's times where I go, dude, you need to say that with your chest, much stronger, much better, much more authoritative. Like back when I was in high school, I was not a confident guy. Even though if I painted a facade or whatever, like I got a lot of heat for whatever reason. So that kind of sticks with me. And I see elements of that come up, whether I'm talking to someone more successful, someone bigger, like bigger arms or whatever, or Norman.
Get out of here. Making me blush.
Yeah, man. But yeah, it's just there's inklings of it that I see in my day-to-day that I always, again, we're in a state of evolution all the time. So I always just try to stick with it.
Has there been a guest that you're nervous to like chat with this person because like when you listen to their content or listen to their seminars, whatever, and you're like, okay, I need to make sure that like conversation wise, like I'm gonna be on
my shit.
Yeah. Have you had that yet?
Yes, for sure. Like I've had some pretty big psychotherapists on, some pretty big doctors. Like when I look at their following base, I'm like,
I just had one with what's his name?
Dr. Lee.
Yeah, that was a great podcast.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. I think, but again, over the years, I get a little more comfortable with it. I could talk on a variety of topics, but I know going into it most times, like usually I'm not nervous for podcasts. I have to like calm myself down and be like, look, you're on the same level as them. There's the imposter syndrome coming back out. You have the podcast, you have the business, you have your knowledge. Like bring that to the table, and don't let that fear get in the way of it. But here's the other thing. Like Simon Sinek, and I'm reiterating this right now. He said, reframe fear as excitement. You ever heard this before? You've heard it? Yeah, I'm going to say it for our guests. But basically, fear and excitement have the same biological feelings, right? Dry mouth, heart racing, shortness of breath, sweaty hands. Those are all things you experience on both sides. So if you're going to focus on one, why not focus on excitement? Instead of saying, I'm so scared for this podcast, it's like, I'm so excited for this podcast. I can't freaking wait. It feels like I had 5 cups of coffee. We're going to have a great conversation. So reframing that for me is really key before I go into those episodes.
Yeah.
Tell me about you, though. I want to hear back. I want to hear, like, do you ever get nervous going into an episode, nervous into somebody who's got maybe more money, more business?
There was one guest. I told our crew, like, okay, we gotta crush this one. We haven't crushed the other ones. But, but I was like, this one we got to crush. And I was a little bit nervous just because at the end of the day, if we're going to be real, like obviously, you know, you want to get somebody who has a good following, somebody who can help you out, because it is a cross promotion situation, right? So you want to make sure like they feel valued here, and then the conversation is good, and then they feel like, you know, they boost you and stuff like that. So obviously, you know, when you start a podcast, like you want to do as well as possible. The numbers have to go up. It's a long game, like, right? But I don't really get nervous. I did a lot of like drama and acting and stuff like that when I was younger. So I was so used to being in front of people who either didn't know me or was going to really judge me. So when I was younger, I used to do like drama, and then I also do stand-up comedy. So one of the drills that we did for stand-up comedy was so fucking rough. So what we did was we went on. So everybody had their own 10 minutes of whatever material they had, right? So the drill was like you would have 10 of the other comedians or whatever, and they'd all sit down, and you would go up, and you would say whatever you have to say, And the drill was, if somebody in the audience thinks you're boring or you're dragging on too long, they get up and they leave. And you have to keep going until there's one person left or no people left.
I love that.
Man, the moment you see somebody leave, you're like, that was personal. That was personal.
Yeah, it
And
hits.
like, if you can last the whole 10 minutes, then that's great. But we would redo that. So that really conditioned me to like be in front of people. Obviously, I have a lot to learn, and you always get nervous and like, but you know what's funny? I think my nervous and excitement, is that I take like a nervous pee.
Yeah, define that. What do you mean?
So I define it. I do martial arts and stuff like that, right? So before we'd go have like a hard sparring day, I'd have to like pee 3 times.
Okay.
I don't really have to pee, but I was like, before we get started, like, let me go to the bathroom, and then I come out and be like, let me just go to the bathroom like one more time, just to like make sure. And then it's always 3 times, and then you know how it is. You look in the mirror like, you got this, bro. So like, I think my thing, if anything, even now if I spar, I'm like, I have to pee 3 times.
Wow.
I think that's my nervous tick or whatever. But other than that, I'm pretty good with me. You know what's funny? Group of people, I'm amazing to having conversation with. Or like makes me nervous because I'm like, I don't know these people. These people don't know me. They're gonna go home. They don't care, whatever. But if it's like it was me and 3 people, then I think that's a little bit more daunting for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just like, I don't know. In my head, I'm very much like, well, fuck this. I'm not gonna let them like ruin this moment for me.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. So that's the way. In my head, whenever I have to pivot the moment, it's always like, fuck this.
Fuck it.
I'm just gonna go. Let's fucking go.
Good, man. Yeah. That's the way to do it. You'd be surprised though. Most people like they won't put themselves into certain situations because they think like they can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, like once you get in there and you do it, you go, I never knew I had that capability. I can't believe I stuck with it. Like I'm so happy I freaking did that.
Mm-hmm.
I find people don't really push their boundaries enough to know their actual potential. You know what I'm saying?
Never. It's funny. I still talk to my martial arts teacher, and I try to do like a self audit like every 6 months. So I messaged him 2 days ago. I was like, hey man, like my martial arts teacher knows me the best. Like, and I was like, what do you think needs to be like fixed and changed with me? And he's like, first of all, like, what do you mean? Hello, good morning. Like, how's your week been? I'm like, oh shoot, yeah, context is key. And I was like, he's like, with kickboxing, and I was like, everything. So he told me about kickboxing, and then I said personal. And then like a Mr. Miyagi, like always, this guy texts me back and he's like, only when you realize that nothing has to be fixed, then you will be free. And I was like,
Man.
okay,
Man.
thank you. Boss. You know what I mean? Like,
That's deep, man.
yeah, so he always hits me up with some Mr. Miyagi stuff. He always helps me bring my center back.
That's
So
fantastic.
I always bring it back to like, I ask him always questions about like, if I'm in a little bit of trouble, he brings me back.
Wow, man. Can you say that one more time? Like, can you say verbatim again? I love that.
Okay, let's see if I can remember.
Yeah, now you're on record, man.
God damn. Okay, so he said, okay, only when you realize that nothing needs to be fixed, then you will be free.
That's phenomenal.
Which is true.
Mhm.
Which is true. Obviously, improvements always there, but nobody needs to be fixed,
I love that.
right? Nobody needs to be fixed. Nobody's like truly broken. Just needs to be improved. So like, I don't know, that kind of stuff.
That's beautiful, man.
Deals with me, you know?
That's beautiful.
Okay, so can you share with me a favorite or memorable moment from your podcasting experience?
Yes. First of all, I've had some great freaking
Yeah, I
guests.
know you've
some
you've-
great
yeah,
guests. So
but just something that kind of comes
Yeah.
on the top of your head.
I think the two, at least for me, was my two favorite episodes besides ours.
Yeah.
There was a psychotherapist I had on from UK.
Mhm.
So we did it virtually, and it was also a nervous system healer I had on also from the UK. Well, they're both from the UK. They were fantastic because they were topics that I never really dove into deep.
Mhm.
So I'll give you my 2 takeaways, one from each episode. The nervous system healer, she was saying all healing happens once your body's in a state of balance. We're all about supplements. We're all about exercise and sleep and all these other areas of wellness, granted, which are very important. However, unless your body is in a state of calm, balance, and homeostasis, none of those will have the full final effect of fully healing your body, whatever you were dealing with. And for me, it was such a really big realization Because yeah, I go to the gym. Yes, I eat healthy. Yes, I prioritize my sleep. Yes, I'm listening to podcasts and learning and doing all these great things that all our Western world says. But I'm in a state of stress constantly. I'm in a state of anxiety constantly. I struggle with that myself personally. It was funny. Sometimes I'll give an anxiety audio training for free, and I'm like, I'm anxious posting this right now. So I understand we have a lot of things that we all need to deal with, but it was like a check yourself, Matt. Make sure you're in balance first. Prioritize you, and that way, when your body's in a state of calm, centeredness, does it open the door for healing? Digestive, sleep, anxiety, mental health, whatever it is. And she's built a thriving business off it. We had a full hour and a half conversation on it. It was a really power-packed episode for me. The other one was a relationship one. I actually have no relationship programs within my Revive Academy, which is crazy. And I told her, like, we need to do a program. So we're in the talks about that. But it was just all about attachment styles and whether you show up anxious or secure, mostly in romantic relationships. But it was nice for me because it allowed me to apply it to other areas of life, and especially goals. We're either usually securely attached to our goals or really anxious, like, oh my God, I want it so freaking bad. A lot of the times in anxious relationships, like the psychotherapist was saying, it creates friction, it creates bottleneck, it creates back and forth and bickering. However, when you're in a secure, confident state, that's when the relationship feels nice and easy, it feels flowy. And when you apply that to your goals, think about it. When you let go of resistance to whatever you want, it usually comes. When you're clinging on to it so much, and I'm so guilty of this myself, like, oh, I really want that interview, it never seems to come. I really want that revenue goal, it never seems to come. I want that fit body, it never seems to come. However, when you just allow and live in alignment with the person that you wish to be, everything seems to naturally fall into place, the same way that relationships happen. So for me, that was a really, really power-packed episode. I've listened to it myself like probably 5 times.
Yeah, just to kind of like
remind
yourself.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool that you have like a library of, how many episodes do you have?
I think we're on our 63rd coming out, yeah.
Yeah, are you going to do something big for your 100th episode?
Yeah, I actually am. I'm going to rent out a theater, probably in either GTA somewhere. 1,000 people. I want to sell out the show, and I want to actually get my top 10 performing guests to come and do a live episode / recording in front of everyone.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so it's like a show, but at the same time we're recording a live audience and everything. We'll introduce the guests as they come, and I just wanted it to be a big shebang, kind of like my launch party. I wanted it to be a freaking like, I'm freaking here, man. Yeah. Like, listen to this shit.
I love it. I love it. That man, you get me hyped. Hey, I'm like, we should do something like that too.
Yeah, man.
I love it. I love it. Okay. How do you stay organized and consistent with your production schedule?
I like that. I think it's even applicable to every area of business because the way I do my podcast is very systematized and practical. Aside from the wellness space, I was always in startups working in marketing, business, whatever. And when I saw the way these businesses would operate, from like processes to integrations to the way that everything flows well, I was like, this is a well-oiled machine. Like, you can come and place a new employee right inside and they would know exactly what part they do and how to keep the systems running. So for me, I just like copied and pasted it into my own business. Systematized, I got softwares, I got certain procedures. Like, I know when I get a guest, intake form, call, outline, recording, production, like all start to finish. So everything is very like segmented, and I know the exact roadmap to get from A to B. And I like that question because not only do I do it in business, I tell people in their lives, I'm like, you should systematize your life.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we're just throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping shit sticks. Oh, like, oh, great, maybe that worked. Do you have a defined roadmap to get where you want to go? Do you know what that end goal is? Have you clearly articulated it? And then work backwards, reverse engineer, be like, I need to be this type of person. I need to think these type of thoughts. I need to have these type of habits. I need to take these types of actions. And if you do all that in a systematized order, it's a matter of time before you get to that end goal.
100%.
You know
how long did it take for you to like really like figure out what system works for you?
Like a month ago, 2 months ago.
No, but that's the game though, man.
That's the game, man.
It's like, it's you're in it for like ever. And you're really just trying to figure out what works for you. And there's always little adjustments because there's always something new that you can add. There's always something new that you can take away, right? So you just have to be able to take the hits and just be able to really, really adapt. I think that's the key.
You know what, Norman? Like, I want to throw it back at you now, though, because I know the way that I do it. I get a little anxious in that process. Like, I got lots on my plate. Like, sometimes I get frazzled. Like, you calm as cool as a cucumber, man. Like, you got a lot of stuff going on. You're also a father, too. Like, how do you do everything you do but still maintain that baseline?
I don't even. You know what? I have my journals. People make fun of my journals. They're like, "Oh, write that in your journal." but I find I have a lot of like I have a journal just for business, for like Stacey and Aaron, all of us, like for business and my weekly tasks and my non-negotiables. And then I have a journal that I do for myself, for more like my heart and like keep myself centered. And then I'm doing the 366 days of philosophical questions from Ryan Holiday.
Oh, nice.
So I do that more for my mind to question like my thoughts and my process and stuff like that. But honestly, it sounds really lame, but I have an incredible team. I have an incredible team that like you always work harder when you want to work harder for other people, right? For my team, like I never ever want to fail my team. And I'm so addicted and possibly in a bad way to being better, that like if there's a new opportunity to be a little bit more scheduled, a new opportunity to be a little bit better, then I have to take it. Like there is no like, oh, like I don't have to pass it, like I have to take it. That's again, we'll go back to what I said, like that's definitely my downfall. That I'll say loosely, I overthink. But yeah, like I have a great team. Like for example, like I don't know if I don't remember if I told you this, but like my daughter's birthday was the day before our gym opening. And so like that's a little crazy. And like, you know what I mean? Like it didn't obviously we planned it, but we didn't plan it like that. But like I'm so thankful like I have my business partner to like pick up the weight when I can't or when I have to step away. I have people here who are like willing to help me and believe. I think when you have people on your team who have faith in you and believe in you, you get the second gear in you to do a lot better, right? I used to always joke around like, now that I have a daughter, I have like a third gear. So the first gear I used to have is obviously for myself, right? And then when I have a team, then I have like my wife and everything. Now I do it for the family. Now I have my daughter. So when things get a little rough or it gets a little low, I have her to like bring me back into a new gear. So I don't. It's funny. I've had conversations with a couple of people who think family. How to word this properly, but because I don't want to put this person down, but basically they thought when you become a father or when you that it slows you down. You know, you get the dad bod. You stop working for yourself. You stop taking care of yourself, right? You start losing yourself a little bit in a relationship. But I just see it differently. Like, you know, I joke around. I don't have a dad bod. I have a father figure. You know what I mean? Like instead, like when I'm tired, I think of my family, my team, and like, okay, like I got to do it for them or I got to do it for all of us. So I just look to my team.
That's awesome.
It's amazing that you went on that because, like,
When you brought up that he's a father and like how he managed it, I was gonna ask him what you just answered, but because I'm finding like just talking to other dad and stuff, it's like Ben needs to be needed. And once you got that kid, like I was gonna ask, my question was gonna be, when you found out you're gonna be father, did you find that you were more focused? Did you find that you were more productive? Did you find that you had more drive?
I don't think so.
no,
I don't think so. Being a father is really important. Being a good father is really important to me because I was raised by a single mom, and so like in the very beginning, I didn't really want to be a dad because I was just like, well, why would I want to screw up some kid's life, right? But obviously, my thoughts and process changed with the older I got. But I honestly, I've always, you know what, I've always understood my purpose in life. It's a little bit changed because I've always thought that I was not. I get to a fight with this with people, but for the longest time, up to like maybe 2 years ago, I always thought I was not meant to be happy. I was meant to be useful in this world. Obviously, it can sound a little bit negative and pessimistic and stuff like that. But in my mind, I was like, no, like I just my whole life I've seen so many selfish people, even to now. Like I've known selfish people in my life, and it like fucking disgusts me. So it's like I can't, and even now when I make a mistake or whatever, or if I'm selfish, like it stays with me. It stays with my heart. It stays with my head. So it's just in my head. I'm like, I have to fucking take care of people. And I think it's that chip on my shoulder from not having like a strong man in my life. Like my mom has she's married to somebody now, and he's an amazing man, and and I respect him, and there's so many things I'll learn from him. But he came into my life when, like we talked about this, when I was a little bit older, where I was like, that rebel without a cause and all that garbage. So I find that that's never really changed. I have a responsibility towards everybody. I think I said it in a podcast a long time ago, but basically my thought process is, if you have the ability to do other things or do things for other people that that other people can't or won't, it's not like a choice for you anymore. It's a responsibility. And so I've always thought that, like, if I can do something to make your day better, it is not my choice to do it. It's my responsibility to do it. Easier said than done. Okay, I'm a human. Obviously, there's sometimes I'm moody or like I'm sad.
Absolutely.
Oh, right.
Absolutely.
But my brain is like, when I'm on that deathbed, when I'm thinking about my life, I want to make sure that, like, I gave more than I took. That's my thought process as I'm sweating.
You answered my question. You said no, but I think you answered my question yes, in that you took that responsibility on before you even had a child.
Yeah, I would say so.
You mean like you took that, like, where most men feel like this switch in when they have a child, and about this extra responsibility. I feel like you took that on before you even had a child.
Yeah, 100%.
That's awesome. And what I'm pulling away from both of what you guys are saying, especially with purpose and the way that you said you had an extra gear, I think the two overarching philosophies here, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like purpose and values.
100%.
Like, so many people, they feel directionless, they can't stay consistent and motivated. It's like they don't have a clear defined purpose, and then the values to help live in alignment with that purpose. Whether that's health, whether that's parental or being a parent, whether that's career. I think when you establish what that is for you, life becomes alive again. You find that extra gear. You find that energy to do what you need to do. And the first thing I always say with people is, when you want something, define that final frontier or whatever that is. That's now your purpose. And then as you define your values to live in alignment with that purpose, you slowly become that person as you live in alignment. So I think those are very key distinctions for what you guys both said. I think it's so powerful.
You obviously, you don't have to say if you don't want to, but do you know your purpose? Do you know what you know?
Yeah, I say 4 purposes in 4 different domains of life, and I say them every morning, and I clarify the values to help me live in alignment with it. It just helps me understand what actions to take that day, how I want to live, how I want to show up. Do I live in alignment with them all the time? No, like you said, I'm human, I'm moody. Sometimes I get tired, but if you're showing up most days, more days than not, you're on the path.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. That was a good one, guys. Okay, so how do you see your podcast evolving and growing in the future?
The podcast, I would definitely say much more diverse guests. I would definitely go and travel the world a lot more to get to certain places.
You did that once with somebody. You went to New York.
I did it in New York, which was phenomenal.
It was cool.
It was very cool. It was a great experience. But I think, I know different parts of the world live differently. I want to showcase what that's like. From cool. Asia to Africa to even like down south, whatever that is. So many different perspectives, because here in the Western world, we're only interviewing Western people. We're all going to kind of have the same ideologies. I definitely want to take it further.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So July 18th, you talked about being addicted to dopamine. Talk to me about this, and why are we addicted, and how can we help get away from this?
That's tough. It's a tough one. I'm currently addicted to it right now. We all kind of are in the Western world. And just to paint the landscape for you, dopamine is very synonymous with stimulation. So stimulation can be from Netflix and social media. It can be from constant eating. It can be just trying to read books and audios and podcasts. It can actually be productive in a sense. But dopamine is anything that gives you stimulation. And over time, the body becomes accustomed to a certain level of dopamine. So let's say you raise it up to a certain extent. Your body's now like, that's the baseline for dopamine. Anytime we slip below that, we're going to feel sad, tired, and sluggish. Get back to that point. So for a lot of us, if it's beneficial dopamine, great. Running, exercise, listening to music or listening to podcasts, etc. That's fantastic because it can put you in the right direction. For the vast majority of us, however, it's not. It's the bad foods. It's the pornography. It is the constant stimulation of garbage content from Netflix to social media. You're not a bad person if you use Netflix social media. I'm just saying it's not the most productive use. But over time, as we get involved in especially these like pornography, bad foods, hyper-processed foods, super stimuli from Netflix and social media, it raises dopamine way too high for us that anytime we're even at baseline now, we feel tired, sluggish, and lethargic. For me, I struggle with this from multitasking. I do 2 businesses. I also work full time. I'm always working. So for me, it's very scattered, dopaminergic day. And I find that if I'm not doing all that stuff, I feel very tired and slow and lethargic, like I just said. So we need to learn how to break that dopamine cycle, to get accustomed to a lower baseline level of dopamine. So number one, if you're engaging in negative dopamine habits like Netflix, social media, hyper-processed foods, find natural, lower stimulation sources of that. So for food, let's say for desserts example, maybe you don't have the candy, but let's say you have like a oatmeal cookie. It's like homemade with real oats with, nice cinnamon or whatever. Find natural sources of it to slowly bring you down in that dopamine level. If you're somebody who's always watching social media like all the time, find a more beneficial habit that will give you the same dopamine spike. I saw an app that allows you to do micro learning. So you can still scroll, but you're learning at the same time. So that way, you're slowing yourself down, you're finding more beneficial habits, and you're lowering that baseline of dopamine to get back to a place of balance, to homeostasis.
What's that app called? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember it. I can't. I saw it a couple of times.
Later. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So dopamine is very prevalent. Our bodies are designed to maximize dopamine. And I talk about this a lot in my mental health content, is when your stimulation height, aka the level of dopamine and stimulation that you're embodying, when that's high, anxiety is high. When you bring it back down, you're in a place of calm. And it usually lives in the analog world. So a lot of the things that are causing our dopamine to spike is digital, it's tech. It's in our day and age every day. Once you break out of that, you start living in the real world, that's when you'll find yourself bringing that baseline down again.
Yeah, those are some. I never thought about it like that though. To bring it to something more organic.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you have a holistic embetterment podcast. So how do you handle the balance of having that, and how do you receive negative feedback from it? So obviously you're human. You live a life. You have a beer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that you have to have be a certain standard on podcasts or whatever, or do you have to when you go to these events, you have to come across a certain way, or do you just try to show them balance?
I think it's a little bit of both. Obviously, I used to be so rigid. I would make sure my bedtime was no later than 10 o'clock. I'm a bad person if I go to bed at 10:05. Yeah. It was bad to the point I was tired, and I just felt like I was too rigid. So balance for me is very key, but at the same time, I like being held to a higher standard. And
sure, you have
right?
to be.
If I'm going to advocate, if I'm going to evangelize, if I'm going to teach, I should embody all that and more. All that and more. A great example this morning when I was running, I did a quick 5K. By kilometer 4, I was like, I should just walk the rest. I'm kind of tired.
I love a good walk run though, or run walk.
It's all right. Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
But I intended I want to run the full 5K. And I thought about today. I was like, if I'm going to talk to Norman today, I want to show up and say this story knowing I finished that 5K, because I'm going to be telling people you need to take accountability for your life. Great, I'm going to do the freaking same. So yes, hold myself to a higher accountable standard, and I like that. I like that a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I think that I agree with that. So January 7th, you had a launch party for your Revive Academy. That's what it's called, right? How did it feel in that moment having all those people there to support you? So one, let's talk about the Revive Academy.
Sure.
How did that start?
First of all, thank you for knowing the date. That's freaking unreal. I didn't even know the date. That's great. It started when I started doing a bunch of programs, but I just did nutrition, weight loss, and fitness. That's what I slowly shifted into video-based programs. But as I learned that health is very holistic and interconnected, if you're missing one piece of the puzzle, I felt like I wasn't giving the full extent to what somebody needed for a transformation. Normally, let's say someone solves their gut health, they're going to be like, great, what's next? Because now I feel good, I'm still sleeping like garbage, and I'm still very negative. We have options for that. I wish I had options for that. So the Revive Academy is all my network of health and well-being specialists, psychotherapists, gut specialists, mindset coaches. Let's come together all in one platform to have step-by-step programs for every wellness journey. Gut health, anxiety, mental health, confidence, self-talk, sleep, everything. And I wanted to make sure that people knew exactly where to take action and what to do next, and to trust that they were making the right choices for them. And to know that the information that was coming to them was not only just we taught you, or we told you, it was we taught you how to adapt it to your lifestyle and your preferences. So it's not very cookie cutter. It's here's how, let's say how your gut works. Here's how it works. Here's what you need to do for your lifestyle and your goals, specifically to this. Same thing with anxiety, same thing with sleep. So that way, like, I'm no longer being relied on. Like, people don't call me like, hey, can I have like chia seeds? I don't want that. I want you to understand, like, when Matt is not available, I know exactly how to live in alignment with who I want to be and make decisions for my body. So the Revive Academy is that guide to help you do that for any wellness journey.
How was that pitch to like gather that team?
Pretty much exactly that, yeah.
Yeah,
I would
and
call them.
They were pretty.
Yeah, I even told them at the beginning, I was like, look, we got no startup money, we got no investment. I go, we're all going to do revenue sharing. I go, do you want to come together and bring this mission to life? So we launched with 10 programs. We had 10 of my closest contacts, and we did it. Now we're on pace to have like 16 or 17 by the end of the year.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
So when you had that party, like, did you take a moment to like be present and be like, wow, because it looked pretty fun. It looked like a lot of people came there to support you. Like, how did that feel to get all those people coming, to have that launch party, to have that moment where people are like, good for you, like, we're happy for all this?
Yeah, it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
Well, number one, like, I planned everything, I organized everything. So not only am I like, I have to host everybody, like, I got to make sure the logistics are going good. So it was overwhelming. But to just see people saying like, this is a really great concept. And we had 50 people sign up like on the day of the party.
That's amazing.
So I go, okay, this was really nice because I was so worried. I was like, I hope people freaking sign up for this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. As an entrepreneur, right? You never really know.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really nice to just have like, we had 110 people, 100 something. Yeah. People show up. So it was nice to feel the support, feel the love. Everybody was posting and sharing, and we just got a lot of engagement from it. So I'm grateful for everyone who came out. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah. What do the parents think about all this?
My parents?
Yeah.
Very supportive.
Yeah.
Very supportive. I think they're the only ones who really know how much work goes into it. Like, they see me staying up till like 11 at night working, finish my job, go work, going out to the events all the time, throwing events. Like, they understand the behind the scenes, right? Like, everybody sees the front facing, nobody sees behind the scenes. They definitely do. So they're nothing but supportive. Even my dad, he's like a wellness nut too. He's been on my podcast twice. So he's very involved in it of himself. Like, I even remember my dad one time went to go pick up the clothes that I was printing when I first started out. I was at work. I was like, I can't get the clothes, but then they're gonna charge me a fee.
An extra, yeah.
He's like, I'll go get it for you. Don't worry. So they're very supportive. I'm grateful for that as always.
Oh, that's amazing. So you have a lot of people talk about gut health.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that gut health is like spoken a lot right now. What does gut health really mean? What is the issues that people need to like really like look into? Like, how do they know if they have a gut health issue?
You know if you got a gut issue for sure.
Okay.
Like, it can stem from a range of things. Like, number one, you could be backed up or you could be way too flowy.
Mm-hmm.
So just to give you a rough idea.
Yeah.
So that's one way. If you're dealing with constant bloating and abdominal pain and you're wondering what the heck, like, I can only have 11 foods. And after that, like, that's what I feel like, sign of a gut issue. The other interesting thing I've been getting into is like, if you have anxiety or depression, most likely you have a gut issue, vice versa.
Because
So-
they say it's a second brain, right?
Yeah, think about it. Like, what organ does it most look like?
Mm-hmm.
It looks exactly like the brain with all the squiggly, like, pink
Yeah.
lines, right? It looks like exactly like the brain.
You're right.
So they're very connected, the two, the gut and the brain. They actually have a highway that connects both of them in the body called the vagus nerve. So you can really see, like, if you're out of balance, brain fog, you feel like spacey, sign that your gut is in a state of disarray. Same thing. So it's wide ranging for sure.
So how do you feel about these food sensitive tests and stuff like that? Do you think people should go do that?
You should definitely check. If you have the option, by all means, check it out.
It can be pretty pricey.
It can be pretty pricey.
I mean, I guess it's worth it though if you can figure out like what are you really sensitive about. But I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm like lactose intolerant, but I'm like, you're like maybe they're eating just like more cheese or more like than they really like. They're not really actually intolerant.
Mm-hmm.
They're just eating a little bit more than they should. Too much.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that or no?
I think if your gut's in a state of disarray, it doesn't matter if you eat a little bit or a lot.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion. Yeah. I think there's a set of habits that everyone should be living in alignment with to get at least a baseline healthy gut.
What does that look like?
I did a podcast on it before I came here, so it's fresh in my mind.
Oh, perfect.
There's a couple of things you need to do. So number one is inflammation. Are we dealing with inflammation? We could dive into that in a second. Number two is like meal timing and fasting. Like, are you constantly bombarding your gut with food and alcohol and all that other good stuff? Like, look at that. The other thing is diversity of foods. Like, are you just eating like refined grains and meat? Like, are you eating a nice rainbow of foods? So those three are pretty big in and of itself. You want me to dive into them? Or
no, 100%.
Yeah?
100%.
So inflammation, that if you solve the root cause of inflammation in your gut, you're already putting your gut in a state of healing. Mm-hmm. Majority of our generation, we eat foods that spike inflammation. And inflammation is your body's defense mechanism to toxins, to pollutants, to food sensitivities. Like that's what bloating feels like. So if your gut is constantly bloated, it's constantly inflamed. And the problem with that is it starts creating little holes in the junctions that hold your gut together and allows the inflammation and the foreign substances and toxins to escape into your body. Now you have puffy face, you have brain fog because all of it's escaping. And if you stop eating foods and doing actions that cause that inflammation, you now allow your gut to slowly heal, to slowly get rid of the toxins, to slowly get rid of that negative environment that it's continuing to cause a state of disarray. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So that's, again, pretty surface level with inflammation. The other one was meal timing and fasting. The average person digests food for 17 hours a day. Did you know that?
No.
17 hours, 24 hours in a day, we're eating for 17 of them. So that means even when we're sleeping, we're digesting when the part where you're supposed to be sleeping and healing and resting is digesting. When you eat, the first thing your body needs to do is get rid of that blood sugar and get rid of that food. Imagine you got a buildup in your gut. It took you 1 week to go to the bathroom. It's not going to feel too good.
No.
So your gut's going to prioritize that as best to its ability as it can. So if you're constantly eating, your body's in a constant state of digestion, and that's when the buildup happens. That's when the chaos happens, and you don't give your body and gut the space to heal. Think about when your room gets messy. What's the first thing you want to do? I want to clean up the socks. I want to get rid of the underwear. I want to dust it. The furniture. I want to make the bed. It's in a state of disarray. I want to get it back into a state of healing or calm. So I think fasting in a smart way, skipping a meal every now and then, or just eating in alignment with our circadian rhythm will put you in leaps and bounds to helping that gut heal.
So how do people like start? How do people start with this? Obviously, then Revive Academy. And
Yes,
stuff like that.
absolutely.
I downloaded your PDF. And stuff like that. It has a ton of knowledge. But what are the first? Like everybody, I think tells people like psyllium husk. What's that supplement? Psyllium husk to help you. Psyllium husk helps with digestion, and then obviously sauerkraut and stuff like that.
Fiber, sure.
Like, what would you tell people right now? What's the first thing they should do?
First step I always say is I go, you're going to get your notes app in your phone or your book or whatever, like a physical journal. I go a week with eating as you want to, or as you normally eat.
Yeah.
Write down every meal that you have, all the stuff that's in it. And then at the end of each meal, after an hour, write how you feel. Write how you feel. Do I feel bloated? Do I feel puffy? Do I feel comfortable? And then over a week of that, if you want to do 2 weeks, great. You're going to notice patterns. Okay, whenever I eat white rice, I feel like absolute garbage. Whenever I eat steak, I feel tired, lethargic, and bloated. Whatever that is, it's going to be different for everybody because we're so unique. Once you understand what your trigger foods are, it's going to sound very counterintuitive. Remove them. Don't eat them. Stick to the safe foods for a bit. And this is the epitome of what we call a restriction diet. Just for a bit. You need to give your gut the space to heal. And if you're eating the foods that don't give it the space to heal, you're never going to heal. So that's why I say remove them and stick to the safe foods. Start fasting. Start eating more anti-inflammatory foods like berries, avocados, things with a little bit of fiber as you can, whatever that is. So you're giving it the space and the tools it needs to heal. And then over time, usually, maybe it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you can slowly start introducing foods again because you've now given the space to heal. So it's the food diary, and then remove them, give it the space and tools it needs to heal, and then start introducing food slowly again. Obviously, there's a few, but that's like my favorite one.
Basic, yeah.
Yeah.
How long should they fast for?
When you're starting out, do 12 hours, nice and easy. Work it up to 14. If you want to do 16, try that out. Depending on how active you are. But if you're going to the gym, you're running, like don't fast for 16 hours a day. 12 to 14, you're in the sweet spot. And for women, don't go more than 14. That's my advice.
Yeah. And would you suggest a person to fast like one time a week, like Monday to Sunday? Like what do you think about that? After like 2-3 months.
After 2-3 months, I would do like personally, I do it every freaking day. I do about 14 hours a day. Starting out, do it like 3 times a week. Then up to 4, then up to 5, then up to 7. Your body will slowly adapt. Your body's very adaptive. Just give it some breathing room to get there. So that's what I would say.
Okay. Aaron, do you have anything to add to that? Okay. I feel like that's your thing right there. Okay. So you made a story. I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier about working till 9 p.m. So is this what you expected in the sense of grinding for your business? I think everybody talks about entrepreneurship, like working till 12 or whatever, but like I feel like a lot of people don't really understand it until they're in it. Obviously, you understand it because you're in it. Is that what you expected when you started your business?
No, I had no idea what I was getting into. I was like, everybody's talking about how hard it's going to be. I'm like, I'll be fine. I'm different.
I'm built different.
I'm built different. I was not different at all. I was not different. Everything was so hard at the beginning.
Me.
Yeah. I think now though I work so late because I work full time as well. Like a lot of people don't know that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So during the day, like I'm working And then I don't get to start to my business. So maybe like 7 at night after I hit the gym. So for me, it's a little bit of a grind period. And I like to say there's seasons of life,
Mm-hmm.
right?
There definitely is.
There definitely is. So I'm not in the season of like calm, cool, collectedness right now. I want to build my business. I want to make an impact. I still have responsibilities. I signed up for my job. It's paying the bills. It's great. But I think, I thought entrepreneurship would be like 1-2 years. I'll be a millionaire by the time I'm 23. That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Here we are at 26, still grinding it out, man. But yeah, like there's seasons of life. So I'm slowly just getting into it. I'm slowly just adapting to it. And it comes when it comes. I'm going to show up for my business as I do every day.
I find though, I don't know if you find this, but like you almost like learn to love it though.
Yeah.
Of like grinding like that because it's just everything is just so on you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The success, the failure, everything is on you, and that feels so good almost. Like you have absolute power.
Absolutely.
Now, obviously, there's some things you don't have like power of, but like in the sense of like staying up, making sure like the show notes are well, or staying up and make sure you reply to these people, like that's in your power, and that feels good. So
For sure.
I find that with myself.
Definitely. And you probably even feel this too. Is like it gives you like something to do with like your life. You have that purpose.
More productive.
So
too.
exciting. There's so much stuff you can do, right?
Yeah.
Most like if I didn't start a business, like I probably wouldn't be here having a podcast with you on what is it, Saturday today?
Yeah.
I would have probably just been hanging out. But here we are connecting, we're sharing valuable content and like
you're living a good life.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, you're living a good life. So how do you balance having a social life or personal life?
Make time for it.
Yeah.
You gotta make time for it.
Like are you seeing that anybody right now? Are you dating anybody? Should we put you on blast right now?
Yeah,
you Pisces, what's up?
I can't say it.
Okay. No, but how do you deal with like having a social life, having like seeing your like friends or seeing someone else or whatever? Like how does that work for you?
I'll say I went through a season where I cut everyone off.
Like
everyone was
season.
Yeah, like I just gotta grind, put my head down. I was so miserable, man. So tired. I was like, why am I not happy? Once I started introducing the friends again, that's when more opportunities came in. That's when more fun came in. That's when I started to feel alive again. And I understand that once all the lights and the cameras go off or whatever it is, if I have no one there to go share the day at the end of the day with, like, what's it for? What's it really for? So I will make time. Like instead of sometimes working from 7 to 11 on like a Tuesday night, my friend goes, hey, you want to have some tea? Done. We're having some tea. Obviously, I set boundaries, be like, look, I got a podcast to release next week. Let's do it. But I will always make sure that I get time for friends and family and business. Because without them, like you have nothing. You know what I mean?
So when did in the very beginning you had that season of just like, and so when did it change?
Probably year 4.
Year 4?
Yeah, so probably 3 years of that. Just like head down, like cut everyone off, like not even posting on social media, like everything.
I feel like that's kind of like entrepreneurship, like on social media, they tell you got to do this, you got to do it, right? But it's not the case. You can if your friends are willing to shift their schedule in the sense of like, yeah, he's really busy right now. We'll see you next week. Then there's no reason why you can't make that difference too, right? And trying to see them.
And your friends will understand, right? If they're really your friends, they're like, yeah, I'll support you, man. Great.
100%. So what does your trading look like? You're a pretty fit guy.
Oh, thank you, man.
You're lean, you're mean.
You're gonna laugh, honestly, bro split.
Yeah, I was just gonna say chest, back.
I have tried.
It works.
Yeah, I have tried like push pull legs. I've tried upper lower. I've done like total bodies 3 times a week. I've tried everything.
What are you doing right now? What does it look like?
Bro split.
Absolute
bro split.
Chest on Monday.
Chest on Monday. Legs on Friday. Arms on legs on Wednesday. Arms on Friday because you gotta go out. That's literally how it goes. Because you gotta go out.
I love it. Okay. So you seem like very much a person that likes to bring people together. We talked about a little bit about your networking events. Have you always been that kind of person to bring people together?
Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
Just like on a bigger scale now.
On a bigger scale, for sure. I know when I moved to the city, me and my buddy said, we need to make more freaking friends. We need to make more friends.
Yeah.
Because we living in the city. We're like, dude, we don't know anyone on a Friday night. Like, come on, we gotta. We're in the city, man.
Yeah.
So over the years, we've just really built this amazing friend group. A lot of connections. So we're always out for dinners, we're always throwing parties, always throwing events. Because when you bring the community together, you know this. Like a workout's better when you have 20 people here versus 1. Again, they both have their days and times. But if you can bring people together, it just elevates the whole experience. And we do that through business, through health, through just going out for dinner, whatever it is.
Yeah, you're throwing some pretty cool events.
Yes, man.
Yeah. You have that. You have tonight.
Yep.
I wish I could go. I'm sorry.
Things change. You're on the guest list, man. You guys are all on the guest list, actually. Right now.
But that's pretty sweet, man. Okay, so who do you look up to? Who inspires you?
Oh, I got an extensive list. I like Jay Shetty. Robin Sharma, Tony Robbins. Controversial. I love Andrew Tate. Maggie Rogers. She's an artist. Who else? Marie Forleo. So they're all people who are really in the peaks of their career right now, but they all have different traits that I want to embody and emulate. So I look up to them to make sure I'm living in alignment with those traits that they bring forth.
Do you have a morning routine?
Yeah, but I changed it recently because I felt way too scattered. You got to journal, meditate, gym, walk, gratitude. I was like, look, man, it's too much. I can't freaking do that.
Yeah.
So now I wake up, I meditate, and I work, and that's it.
Okay. What do you use an app for meditating?
My mind.
Your mind. I love it.
I just do some nice binaural beats, and I just get grounded for the day, and I step into it in a controlled way. I always felt like I was playing catch up, like, wake up, walk, gym, breakfast, meditate, stretch. Going in, I'm like, I'm frazzled, and I can't have that energy because it's going to permeate the rest of the day. Now I'm going to wake up, ground myself, eat a healthy breakfast. Let's get going. Much better.
What does a healthy breakfast look like?
I love my avocado toast.
You love it. What does the avocado toast look like? Just a little avocado, a little lemon?
No, I spice it up, man.
What is it? Talk to me.
Like a sourdough.
Okay.
Mash up the avocado, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and then sumac. Beautiful sumac. It's like I think it's Middle Eastern spice. Mm-hmm. Don't quote me on it.
It is.
And then it is, yeah. And then some lime juice, micro arugula, and nigella seed.
Oh my gosh! And then your dad's over there like frying some eggs,
burger, yeah, whatever it is.
He's having toast and peanut butter.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the end of the podcast, we always ask our guests if they could describe themselves in one word. What would that be? And what does alpha mean to you?
Great questions. When you sent that over, I had to think about that one for a second.
That one.
That one was good. I think for me, that one word would be evolving. I look for where I am now to where I am, or where I am now to where I was at the beginning. State of involvement. And if I look back and I didn't evolve whatsoever, I would consider these last 5 years a waste. So I think for everyone to just live in alignment with evolution. Your body's going to change, your mind's going to change, your thoughts are going to change. Always make sure that you are evolving, experiencing, having new, unique things happen to you, or at least seek them out, because that's where true growth happens. That's where the true life is about living. That's my belief. And then for alpha, I think it comes down to three things. Number one is authenticity, decisiveness, and reliability. Do you want me to elaborate a little bit or no? Yeah. So decisiveness, number one, alpha, is your ability to understand, like, this is the decision I want to do. This is the direction I want to head. I'm going to live with this decision, and I'm going to make it work, whether it goes well or it goes poorly. Like, I'm going to take responsibility and accountability for that. And I'm not going to and ha. Like, I'm going to make the decision because that's where I want to go. So any area of life. Reliability. That's, can your team rely on you? Can your partner rely on you? Can your friends rely on you? Are you flaky? Are you going to be there to support someone when they need? And then vice versa. You understand that when you're reliable, other people are reliable for you back. So I think that's a really big key component about it. And then authenticity. Do you understand what your boundaries are, what your values are, and who you want to show up as? And will you be able to be deviated very easily with that? So when you go out or if you're on a podcast, or if your friends are telling you to go do X, Y, and Z, and you don't want to do X, Y, and Z, can you stay rooted in your true authentic self and live in alignment with who you want to be? So I think those three things: decisiveness, reliability, authenticity.
I think that's a beautiful way to end. So how can they reach you? What should they look for when it comes to you?
Definitely, yeah.
Handles and everything. Let's do it.
Yeah, so if you want my website, by all means, you go to rviveofficial.ca, reviveofficial.ca. You can get my free gut guide there. You can check out our academy. We have 500 members in it, which is fantastic. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at Matt Salesio, Salesio. I'm posting content every day, freebies, podcasts, all that other good jazz. And then for YouTube, TikTok, it's all the same kind of stuff, all the same handle. So yeah, I would love if you can connect. And thank you, Norman, for having me on the show, man.
No, I appreciate you being on. I feel like we could talk forever about
I know, man. I know.
It'll be a part two.
Definitely, man.
Okay, guys, I appreciate you being on. See ya.